Welcome back to a new video. Today I had the opportunity to take a look at something you definitely do not get to see every day. Now, my regular viewers will recognize that this is not quite my regular content of electrical systems and life safety systems, but definitely another interest of mine being aviation. Today we're going to be taking a look at an incident that happened early Tuesday morning at Vancouver's International Airport, resulting in something that I could not pass up the opportunity to go see myself. Firstly, I do want to mention I am reporting on this the day after the event. This is now Wednesday, and I may have information not available to me that will be at a later date. I'm also not qualified in aircraft investigations and aviation incidences. With that said, I do have an interest in aviation, so let's talk about what I do know and take a look at the various pictures I have taken of this incident. To start off with some known facts, this incident occurred at around 1:45 a.m. The aircraft involved was a 30-year-old Boeing 767-300ER, registered Charlie, Golf, Alpha, Zulu, India. I am seeing some discrepancies of it being referred to a 767-300F. However, I do believe it's a 300ER, and I will be referring to it as such in this video. I think maybe the differences there is if it started out as a designed 767 freight aircraft or if it was a passenger aircraft that was converted into a cargo aircraft, then it retains its ER listing. However, correct me if I'm wrong if someone knows there. The aircraft made an ILS approach to YVR's 08 left runway, being a nearly 10,000 foot runway at 9,941 feet or 3,030 meters. However, you can clearly see that said runway is not where this plane is sitting. And that's because this plane overran the runway by nearly 1,900 feet, or about 580 meters. The aircraft was a Amazon Air Cargo, or also known as Prime Air Cargo. The aircraft was, however, operated by Cargojet. The current picture we're looking at right here is the first picture I took once I arrived at the airport. This photo was taken around 4 p.m. The weather at the time of the incident, the temperature dropped to around 30 degrees Fahrenheit or around -1 degrees Celsius. Also reported at the time was light sleet and or freezing rain. 08 left is the north runway at YVR, and the plane is now sitting off the end of it at the east end of that runway. Taking a look at Flight Radar 24 here, you can see the plane left Hamilton, Ontario, going to Vancouver, British Columbia. Flight time 4 hours and 23 minutes. Now I'm going to pinch in a little closer here and slow down the playback. The majority of the flight was at flight level 340 or 34,000 feet. Then went on the approach to YVR here, holding at around 3,000 feet for a little bit, before then descending another 1,000 feet to 2,000 feet. The ground speed did fluctuate quite a bit here between around, at minimum, I saw 160 knots up to about 200 knots. The ground speed when the plane crossed the runway threshold was 173 knots. To zoom in even more, we can see where the end of the runway is, and then versus where the plane is sitting. Now, for those interested, I am going to zoom out where you can just see the plane's flight path and landing, and I'm going to give it where you can see the speed and altitude, not that I trust that altitude, and this will allow you to see the speed at various locations at the ground speed of this aircraft. So I will slow down the playback as slow as I can go and get it in the position where you are able to see both the plane and the information at the same time, opposed to me just summarizing the speeds at various points. So this is now live playing here. I'm going to pause it in a couple spots. It is a little jumpy. Right here is where it first crosses the runway threshold. You can still see 173 knots. And at this point, this is where the plane should absolutely be stopped by, and you can see there is still reported 120 knots. A runway excursion at 120 knots is pretty serious, as 120 knots is 138 miles per hour or 222 kilometers per hour. Anyways, let's continue with the playback. So there you can see, after 1900 feet almost of mud and grass, the aircraft finally stopped. So that's where what I know as a fact ends, and here is what I believe has happened. I have heard the audio communications from the aircraft to ground. Those are available on YouTube, and you can hear the communications that there is a flap issue with the aircraft, specifically the leading edge slats, which is the part at the leading edge, the front of the wing, that extends to give the plane more lift at lower speeds to enable the plane to be going slower to land at a safe speed. And the issue there was some slat asymmetry, meaning that when the slats extended, they did not extend to an equal amount. So the crew would have had that indication of the slat asymmetry, so they would not proceed to extend the slats anymore. So it does look like they landed with partial flap and slat extension, so I'm just not sure if maybe they couldn't get their full flap and slat extension that they would have wanted for this approach. More information on that may be available eventually once the investigation is done, but we do know it is likely due to a flap/slat problem, probably caused by asymmetry, and that led to the higher than normal landing speed. Now let's take a look at some more of the pictures I've taken. Here's a little bit more close up of, you can see the gear, the main gear quite deep into the grass, and you can see the engine cowling almost on the ground. I'm not entirely sure if the engine nacelles actually made contact with the ground or not. They are definitely very close, and they may have if it did sink down in its journey to its final resting place. However, they definitely are damaged, as they did make contact, as this plane not only overran the runway, but it ran over a ton of the approach lighting, which would have been the approach lighting for runway 26 right. It almost took out the ILS antennas, but did not make it quite that far. You can see Transport Safety Board is now at the scene looking at the aircraft. This is a view just a little more head-on. You can actually see the fan there and see just how much mud and dirt and just general crap is all over the place here. It's a big mess, to say the least. Fortunately, the main gear did remain intact, as if they hadn't, those engine nacelles may have been ripped completely off the plane, as they are meant to do. However, the same cannot be said for the nose wheel, which did indeed completely collapse or got very buried in the ground, but I'm going to bet that it probably collapsed at this speed hitting the grass mud. Here's a view looking through the ILS antennas. It really shows just how close this aircraft got. Actually, if it had gone much further, it would have been through the ILS antennas and through the perimeter fence of the airport, and beyond that is a ditch and then the road, that road being Templeton. I do like this shot here looking head on to the plane. You can see it has deviated from being centered with the runway slightly. It has gone to the plane's left slightly, which is what saved some of that last standing approach lighting from being ran over by the aircraft. Here you can see that there are one section on each wing of the spoilers still extended. However, the left one does appear to be more so extended than the right. I'm not sure if they did attempt to veer from the imaginary center line if you were to extend it from the runway. I'm not sure if maybe they intentionally deviated from that center line to avoid hitting some of the approach lighting and ILS antennas, as that would make sense, but I'm not sure. Obviously, your nose wheel would not have any steering, and I'm not sure if they would have had the capability of using rudder to steer in the grass like that. Here's another pretty good picture. I like this one. Looking head on, you can see damage to the leading edge of both the engine cowlings and just how buried the main gear is. I'm imagining that the front nose gear is obviously going to have to be completely replaced. And as far as the main gear, that's obviously, this whole plane is going to need quite the inspection. And I would assume new wheels, new brakes, and I'm not sure about all of the different struts and various components, how their integrity would continue after an event like this, as obviously this is a lot of stress on components in ways they are not intended for regular use. Those engines also would have ingested a whole lot of debris from the ground of all that dirt and mud and grass. Keep in mind, this is a 767 that is over 30 years old, so I have seen speculations that this will be repaired and put back into service. However, only time will tell, as you never know with these older aircraft. Even seemingly small incidences like this sometimes will result in them ending up in the airplane boneyard. It does look like the number one engine, being the plane's left one, actually fared better with less ingestion and mainly not colliding with all the approach lighting. So it looks like a little bit less damage, not to say that there isn't damage, however. Another wider view here of the entire aircraft. You can see the Hitachi excavator there is preparing some big lumber, big pieces of wood, and as I was there, large flatbed trucks were coming in, or the low bed trucks with some large Caterpillar dozers on them. I'm assuming to either prepare the ground or somehow attempt with the job of removing this stuck plane. Here's a better look at the number 2 engine, which took the brunt of the damage. You can see in general that wing is covered with a lot more debris than the left wing is, or looking at it this way, the right wing. I now went to the other side, which, if you know the airport, where a lot of the fuel is stored, as well as the UPS building and Canada Post building. I went to this side, climbed up one of the big mounds of dirt to get a view of this side of the aircraft. Here is a closer look at the main wheels, and I guess I haven't mentioned yet, and I probably should, that none of the 3 crew were injured in this event. You can really see what a mess this is and how close those engine nacelles are to making contact with the ground. Big mess. Definitely really, really muddy soil this time of year in November, Vancouver. This is another wide shot that shows just how far off the end of the runway they've gone. There are some aerial videos available that really show the scale of just how far it's gone. I do like the mountains in the back, and here you can see some of the approach lighting for 26 right, which has been obliterated by the plane. That's actually not supposed to be in here. There is just the line of these big ruts across the grass where you can't even see the plane or the runway in the shot. So it's gone a ways. There is some of the near shorter approach lighting getting closer to the threshold of 26 right. So here I've got a little video for you guys. You can actually hear the APU is still running on the plane. I'm not sure why they try and continue to have power, if that's important for the investigation or not, possibly. Here you can see just how far this has gone, but I'll stop talking now. In case you guys didn't believe me that I did actually go here to take pictures of it, this should be proof. There's a selfie. There's me. That's on my berm that's in front of the plane. So there you go. You know, I don't think you can park there. They overran the runway by quite a bit. I mean, like, they're almost at the antenna, the ILS antennas there. They already took out a lot of the approach lighting. You can see their marks in the mud. Oh, where's the approach lighting? Oh, it's gone. Like, they went a good ways. There's the end of the runway. Like, there's the last taxiway there. And they got this spot. And then we just kept going for quite a little bit there. 767 300 ER. I'm not sure how it's doing. Front gear might have collapsed. It's sitting down there pretty low. Must have collapsed. I'd offer to hook my car up to it and pull them out, but I don't think they want me in there. If you are interested in seeing my pictures as well as some of my other aviation photos, make sure to check out my Instagram account where I did post these. That is my aviation account. It is Nick_aviation. My name on there is Nick's Planes and Aviation. As of right now, and probably for the next little bit, the plane is remaining in this place. It will need to be the investigation will need to be completed before the plane can be moved or messed with, and I have heard that there will probably need to be communication with Boeing and I have heard there will probably need to be some communication with Boeing as far as figuring out what's the best way to handle this and move the aircraft without causing further damage to it, and it will need to be moved to somewhere at this airport, probably where Air Canada works on their aircrafts in that large hangar, or it won't be going anywhere. It'll be staying here to be worked on, that is for sure. So anyways, that's all we know for now. And if you guys do have any insight or anything to comment, make sure to comment that about this, and it will be interesting to see how this situation progresses. Again, this is not something you get to see too often, so it was definitely an interesting thing to go see. So if you guys did enjoy this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. I know it wasn't my regular content, but like I said, if you do have any comments or questions, feel free to leave those down below. And if you do enjoy my channel and my videos, make sure to subscribe. Alrighty guys, thank you for watching.